Now that you should feel pretty comfortable solving for the volume of cylinders and cones, let's apply the volume to solve for missing measures. So there are a few examples listed on the page. We'll take a look at them, make sure that we feel comfortable solving for missing measures. So for part A, given the volume of a cylinder, so cylinder right away, it should trigger in your mind, we're doing volume equals area base times height, or volume equals pi r squared times h. And we're told that the volume is 176.625 cubic centimeters, so that's our volume. And we're given the radius is 2.5 centimeters, so that's r. And we need to figure out the height, that's our unknown. And so in this formula, we're going to plug in the 176.625 for the volume. We are, per the directions at the top of the example, going to use 3.14 for pi. And then we were told that the radius is 2.5, so we're going to substitute that in and square it. And we need to solve for h, so that's perfect that we don't have a measure for that. And so simplifying from here, we need to simplify the right-hand side of the equation. So the 176.625 is brought down. 3.14 times 2.5 squared is 19.625 times h. The opposite of multiplying by 19.625 is dividing. And so if I divide both sides by 19.625, I get a nice crisp clean number of 9, and it's the height of the cylinder, and so I'll get 9 centimeters. And that's all there is to it. And so maybe you want to pause the video and try the next one on your own. There is one more example with the cylinder. I'm going to go ahead and talk through it. Volume we are given is 141.3, and it does say a cylinder, so we're going to use volume equals pi r squared h. We're given the radius is 3, and we need to figure out the height. We don't know that. So plugging in what we do know, 141.3 equals 3.14 times 3 squared times h. Good, we don't know the h, so that's our only unknown. If you simplify the right-hand side so we can solve this equation better, we get 3.14 times 9 is 28.26 times h. Opposite of multiplying by 28.26 is dividing by 28.26. And if you divide 141.3 by 28.26, you get a nice, again, whole number of 5. Looking at the labels on this problem, that's going to be inches. Taking a look at the last two examples, we're going to switch gears a little bit, but stay pretty consistent. So right here we have the volume of a cone. Right away, that should trigger volume equals 1/3 of a cylinder. So 1/3 area base times height. So that's going to be 1/3 pi r squared h. I'm given the volume is 12. I'm given the radius is 2. And I, again, want to figure out the height of the cone. So we have just a little bit more going on, but the same idea. So 12 goes in for the volume, equals 1/3, we're plugging in 3.14 for pi, times 2 squared times h. H is the only unknown, and that's what I'd like for you to figure out. So if you simplify the right-hand side, you do need to do 1/3 times 3.14 times 2 squared. If you do that, you get 4.187 times h. Opposite of multiplying is dividing. And if you divide both sides to isolate the h, you do get h is approximately here, so I'm going to put the approximate symbol. We'll round to the nearest hundredth and say 2.87 meters. Again, I'd encourage you double check your math, your plug-in, and make sure that you can follow the steps in this equation solving. And then the last example, we're going to kick it up a notch, try to call back some of the previous part of the unit. Volume of a cone, right away, V equals 1/3 pi r squared h. So we have the volume is pretty big, 1,296. The height is 12. Ooh, height is 12. Calculate the radius. So yeah, we're changing things up a little bit. We want to figure out the radius, so let's plug in what we know, and hopefully everything else makes sense from there. So we have 1,296 for the volume equals 1/3, 3.14 for pi. We don't know the radius squared, and then times 12 for the height. So it's good, we don't know the radius squared, that is what we're solving for. We're still going to clean up the right-hand side of the equation, and I'm just seeing here, I made a typo in the notes. Will you guys change the 1296 to 1256? That'll make our numbers work out a little bit better, so change that to 1256, and I'm going to change that here to 1256. Okay, so you'll see why that's going to be nice in a minute. So 1256 equals, if you simplify the right-hand side, 12.56. radius squared. We could have kept the 1296, but I'd like for you guys to work with some clean numbers on this first application solving for the radius. So from here, just with the previous problems, we want to get the variable term alone. Divide by 12.56, divide by 12.56, you get 100 equals radius squared. And if you recall from the previous part of the unit, to undo a square, you take the square root. So show that square root on both sides. Normally we would write both a positive and a negative 10, but here we're only going to write the positive because it's a measurement. We're looking for the radius. And then if you include the units on that problem, we have the radius is 10 feet.